Hello, horror lovers, welcome to our channel. Please subscribe, as it is our biggest motivation. Let us know in the comments which city you are listening from. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Now, let's get into the stories. This story is something I have tried to push away for years, reducing it to a funny anecdote to make it seem less terrifying. But 11 years later, the reality of it finally hit me, and it is far more terrifying than I had ever let myself believe. I now understand just how lucky I was that night. At 21 years old, I had recently rediscovered my love for dance and started enjoying concerts and festivals. A year before, I had attended my first music festival at 20 and had the most amazing time. I volunteered, met incredible people, and got hooked on the scene. However, I was incredibly naive back then, and my lack of experience in that world would eventually put me in a dangerous situation. When the next year's festival came around, things were different. I had cut off ties with the friends I had previously gone with, but I still had a few acquaintances in the festival crowd, friends of friends, really. Although I was essentially going solo, I decided to camp with these semi-friends. That decision, I now realize, was the beginning of my problem. The first mistake I made was arriving late. By the time I reached the festival, the lines were long, and the sun was beginning to set. The signal was spotty, and I was struggling to contact the people I was supposed to camp with. After much searching, I finally found them and managed to set up my tent, but it was already dark. The festival had moved to a new location that year, and my bad sense of direction did not help. Little did I know that this was only the start of a night I would never forget. My ex-roommate, Tom, and his girlfriend, Gina, were the only people there I felt somewhat comfortable with. Tom had brought some special acid for me as a sort of apology for not sticking up for me in a past roommate situation. I had never done anything quite so intense before, but I thought, why not? The festival was already in full swing, and the energy around me was electric. That's when the second mistake happened. We all took the acid together, and very quickly, I realized I had taken too much. It hit me hard, much harder than I expected, and before I knew it, I was spiraling out of control. By the time I came to grips with how high I was, Tom and Gina had wandered off, leaving me alone. I thought I could handle it. I tried to find my way back to the campsite, thinking if I could just lie down for a bit, I would be okay. But in the dark, with no sense of direction, I could not find my tent. Panic began to set in. I was in the middle of nowhere, high out of my mind, wearing just a crop top and jean shorts in the cold, high desert night. Wandering aimlessly, I stumbled upon the disco area, a strange little corner of the festival that had a legit disco ball spinning above the crowd. I wandered inside, hoping the music would calm me down or that maybe I would run into someone I knew. That is when I saw her woman dressed in the most bizarre outfit, almost like she was from the pioneer days. To this day, I am not entirely sure she was real. I started talking to her, hoping she could help me find my campsite. She seemed friendly enough, and we began wandering together, searching through the maze of tents and RVs. That is when we encountered him, a man, maybe in his early 30s, standing near an RV with glow sticks in his hands. He asked if we wanted some, and in our dazed state, we agreed. She went first, taking a glow stick from him and then skipping away, just like that. I called after her, but she did not stop. The man looked at me and asked, "Are you all right?" Do you think you can find your friend?" In my innocence, I replied, "Well, I don't actually know her. I can't find my campsite, and she was helping me, but now she's disappeared." That is when he said the words that should have been a warning, but I was too high, too young, and too naive to see it coming. "You remind me of my little sister," he said. "I would not want her wandering around lost like this. Look, my buddy and I are going to watch some shows, but you can stay in his RV for a while and sleep it off. I do not feel right leaving you out here alone." Without thinking, I agreed and followed him. The RV was a toy hauler, the kind that has an open back end like a U-Haul. It felt safe enough at first. He put on some music, an album I used to love when I was younger, and tucked me into a makeshift bed. Then he left, leaving me alone. At this point, I had not even seen his body. For what felt like hours, I lay there, tripping to the music, slowly coming down from my high. For a moment, I actually thought everything would be okay, but then they returned. The man who had brought me there climbed on top of me, kissing my neck and touching me. His weight pinned me down, and I could not move. Then I felt another set of hands. The body had arrived. He started touching me too. I was still high, disoriented, and half-conscious, but I knew enough to know that I was in danger. I managed to mutter, "Stop. I do not want this." They did not stop. The man who had brought me there got angry. His face changed in an instant, and I could see the rage in his eyes. He leaned in close and whispered, "We helped you. Now you ask." I do not know how I did it, but somehow I managed to slam my knee into his groin. The shock of it gave me just enough time to scramble out from under him. I ran barefoot, half-dressed, and terrified through the dark, crashing into prickly bushes and stumbling over rocks. I did not know where I was going, only that I had to get away from them. By some miracle, I found a couple of kind strangers who saw me in my frantic state. They calmed me down, helped me clean up, and gave me a safe space to stay for the rest of the night. I did not sleep. I could not trust anyone, not even the kind strangers who had helped me. I was too scared. It was not until the next day that I found my camp. It had been only 10 yards away the whole time. To the 2 men who tricked me, trapped me, and nearly assaulted me, I hope we never meet again. And to my younger self, I wish you had known better. But you were young, high, and naive, and sometimes that is all it takes for things to go horribly wrong. Looking back, I realize how lucky I was to escape. They were high out of their minds, and that might be the only reason I got away. I did not know the second guy at all, but the first man, the one who claimed I reminded him of his sister, he seemed crazed. I do not know what would have happened if I had not fought back, but I am grateful every day that I did. Let this story be a warning. Do not trust people just because they offer to help you. The world is not as kind as we would like to believe, and sometimes the scariest monsters wear the most innocent faces.